let's start talking about Jesus calls us to follow him as he called those guys, okay, the disciples. So let's ask this question to begin with. Here it is up on the screen. Think of your favorite teacher or a favorite class you took. Why was it your favorite? And what made the learning experience memorable?
Can I talk about my first Sunday school teacher?
Sure.
All right, so I went to an inner city church that had a German service and an English service. I didn't speak English yet. My Sunday school teacher was an African American. That term did not exist in those days yet, so she was colored.
Right.
Oh my goodness, she had a beautiful voice, and when she took my little hand in hers, I have never to this day felt somebody's spirit like come through the whole soul, like her whole essence, warmth, you know. And I thought she came all the way from Africa just to teach me. She was my African queen. She treated me well, and I have wonderful memories. Bible stories were always heartfelt. She made things come to life. I learned my English through her. Oh my goodness, it was just a wonderful experience, you know, just all the way around. I left that church when I was 12 to start confirmation classes. And I remember a couple years later we went back to that church for some big celebration. It was, I don't know, 150th anniversary of the church or something like that. And my father said, "Look, there's Mrs. Blockson." And I said, "Where?" I didn't see her, and she was almost right in front of me because I was looking for somebody above the ground.
Yeah.
She was only 5 feet tall, but
Oh,
she was always larger than life to me.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's mine. And I have another one from elementary school, too. And that was, she taught in a one-room schoolhouse, and I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
her first teaching job, so I thought that was cool.
Cool. I was going to ask you if you remembered your kindergarten or your Sunday school teacher's name, but you obviously did.
Blockson. Joyce Blockson. She had a daughter, Joyce, too.
Okay.
She was Baptist. Pastor had asked her to teach Sunday school. She was in a very abusive relationship. Her husband was an alcoholic. And that was healing for her to work for the church. And then she just stayed. That was it. That was her new church home.
Cool. Very good. Anybody else? Favorite teacher? Learning experience?
Not so much teacher, it was science class, 7th grade science. I just loved doing this stuff. And I couldn't dissect a frog now, but I had the best dissected worm in the class, so.
That's good.
Biology.
Yeah, now it would be, couldn't do it, but yeah. Yeah, just, it's, I always think of that. I liked my 7th grade science class.
Anybody else?
Everybody else had mean teachers. No.
Our teacher that comes to my mind is the 8th grade science teacher that we had, Mr. Bresson. He was not a very big man, but he always wore a white lab coat. And his peculiar turn of phrase was, he would ask a question and a student would give an answer that the student wasn't sure of, and Mr. Bresson knew was a wrong answer, and he would look at him and go, "Bet your life on that, Mr. Gross?" And the kid would go, I don't think so. Good choice.
Yeah, so even to these days, when there's something we're not sure of, I mean, I'll say, I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I think,
Yeah, that's right.
you know, that phrase still comes up.
That's funny.
Yeah, we had a algebra teacher, Mr. Pogela. Bet you dollars to donuts.
Yeah.
Or a couple three.
Okay, well, let's go on. We're going to look at verses 1, 2, and 3 in chapter 5 of St. Luke, and choose one detail from the verses that just stands out to you. So somebody read these verses, please.
One day as Jesus was standing by the lake of
Gennesaret.
Gennesaret, the
There you
people were crowding around him and listening to the word of God. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a line a little from shore. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat.
Okay, good, thank you. All right, so choose one detail that highlights the nature of Jesus' ministry, and why did you pick that detail?
I would say that he asked them to put out a little from shore,
Okay,
because it seems like this way he could speak to more than just those who were around him.
mm-hmm,
So he could touch the greater multitude.
mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's accurate, an accurate observation, but it's a good detail. Yeah.
In verse 1, because people did often crowd around him.
Mhm.
They,
Yeah.
you know, they knew, even when they, at
Mhm.
times, kind of like, is he who we think he is?
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
I think that the crowd was always there,
Yeah.
or often.
Yeah, and if you're in a crowd and there's people right around, your voice gets lost real quickly and
Right.
you need to back away.
It's
a little bit.
muffled.
Yeah, it's muffled. Anybody else?
He sat down and talked to them. He didn't stand.
Yeah.
He sat down to their level and just relaxingly had a conversation. Or
Okay,
talked to them.
yeah, thank you for picking that. There's actually 2 reasons for that he did that. 2 practical reasons. One is you really don't want to stand up in a boat for very long.
but it's Jesus. He'd be safe.
Yeah, I don't think he really had to worry about much.
The other is that if he were in a synagogue, as many rabbis were, if he were in a synagogue, he would actually sit down to teach. Okay? You stand up to read the Torah, but you sit down to teach. There's actually a chair up in the front of the synagogue for the rabbi to sit in to teach from. And I presume it's because the sermons got really long, but there is a place in the Gospels where Jesus says, the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat, and so you should listen to their teaching, but don't follow their actions. And the seat of Moses was the teaching chair in a synagogue. So it would have been less common for a rabbi to teach standing up if he had the opportunity to sit down. So Jesus sat down in the boat, yeah.
Because you would think when they describe this, he got in the boat and taught the people, they specifically said sat, and that kind of just stood
Yeah.
out to me, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that he did it right there at hand instead of saying, well, let's all go to the synagogue. That's where the teaching has to take place. He taught on the mountainside. He taught at the boat. He taught here and there, Wherever the people were gathered, that's where he taught.
But that's because he was God. You don't have to go to a building.
Yeah, but it was also good for the people to not have to, after they trekked around to find him, it was good for them not to have to say, oh, we're going someplace else now.
And how many would say, well, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
just stay here, so he might have
Mhm.
lost a few along the way.
I'm tired. I don't want to walk that far.
Yeah.
Uphill both ways, are you kidding me? And it's snowing!
Yeah.
In Israel. Yeah. Summertime. All right, let's move on a little
Yeah.
bit. Luke 5, 4 through 7. Speaking of tone of voice, somebody read verses 4 through 7, please.
When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and let down the nets for the catch." Simon answered, "Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I'll let down the nets." When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats so full that they began to sink.
Okay, that's good. Thank you for that. What tone of voice do you think Simon used when talking with Jesus?
That same one he just used.
Yeah,
The
very
same one Ed just
sarcastic.
used?
Are you kidding me?
Are you nuts? What? Have you not been here?
Yeah. Maybe a little more patient than that.
That was a grandma voice.
I'd say probably
Yeah.
more of a weary tone.
Yeah, that's what I think too. He's like, okay.
Hard to say, we weren't there.
I know, we weren't there, but we can imagine a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So what's the timeline here? Has Simon already been called
No,
as a disciple?
No.
Nothing yet. So in
Okay.
the
No,
beginning,
this is very
they
early
were just,
on.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think, Jesus,
but he knew who Jesus was. He calls him master.
yeah, he knew who Jesus was, or at least he knew that, okay, so he possibly knew a couple of things. One is he knew Jesus was a rabbi,
Okay.
because he acted like a rabbi and taught like a rabbi. So, you call him rabbi or master. But I think the other one is, I think he was aware of Jesus and maybe had even listened to him a couple of times. But this is really only a couple of months, probably only a couple of months since Jesus has come out of the wilderness.
Okay.
So he really hasn't called them yet.
He hasn't seen all the miracles yet.
They haven't seen the miracles, and he will call him after this.
Mm-hmm.
When they get back on land, he says, follow me and I'll make you fishers of men.
Right.
But it's not even for another chapter or two in Luke when Luke says he gathered all the followers around him and chose the 12 from
Yeah,
those.
and it's interesting that he picked Simon's boat.
Mhm.
I mean, in terms of what is going to come.
Yeah,
That he selected this boat to go out on, and this is a learning experience.
right. I remember
Yeah.
Being on one of the India trips. We were at a place that had a lot of fishermen on the Indian Ocean, and there were just a whole bunch of boats lined up, of fishermen. And so, I have this picture in my mind that there would have been a whole bunch of boats lined up on the Sea of Galilee. There would not have just been these two boats, but there have been a bunch of them lined up, and he picked the one that belonged to Simon Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, was that pre-planned, or because he picked that boat, then he chose?
I don't know.
For all we know is he could have picked the most seaworthy one.
Yeah, or the one that was right there, or whatever. I don't know. He picked Simon Peter's boat. I don't know that it's. I think it would be just pure speculation to say. He had determined from eternity that he was going to pick Simon Peter's boat.
This was preordained.
Preordained, yeah,
Yeah.
that it was Simon. I don't know. There's, when you think about Jesus, you got to think there's very little that happened randomly.
Yeah.
Okay, but to what extent things were set up in advance, I don't really know. Okay, what do we learn from Simon about following Jesus? Just from these verses.
You gotta do what he says.
Yeah, you ought to do what he says.
Even if it's exasperating or doesn't
Yeah.
seem to be the right thing at the moment.
Right.
Or-
Trust.
Trust.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
my first one.
What was
Right.
that?
Trust.
Trust.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. You don't always know the situation, and you just go, okay, fine, I
Right.
guess.
Right.
Yep.
But you might do okay, fine with a tone of voice like,
Right.
okay, fine.
Yeah.
Or,
Okay.
because you said
Okay.
so, yeah. But, I mean, That's what I have in life. You know, not the super willing, okay, you said so, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think
it's
we've all been in
usually,
situations
oh,
like
yeah.
that, you know?
Yeah, only it usually comes out, yes, dear.
Yeah. Exactly. It's easier that way. you know?
Thank you guys for saying that, because Dennis was thinking that.
Right.
I will tell you one though, my boys every once in a while say, man, Dad, you were right about that.
Vindication at last,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
But yet you're still there.
Yeah.
It's like I've always said, it's easier to say, yeah, okay, fine, because later on you're going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you're not going to get away with it.
Get it over with.
Huh?
Yeah, but had you done it the first time, how much easier would it have been?
Well, you can't have it always like, you know.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next verses, 8 through 11.
When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, Go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man. For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they had taken, and so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partners. Then Jesus said to Simon, Don't be afraid. From now on you will fish for people. So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and followed him.
Okay, terrific, thank you. What's the lesson that Jesus taught the first disciples then?
Have no fear.
Have no fear, okay.
Trust in me, you can accomplish anything.
Okay, trust in him and accomplish anything.
You're not going to tell me no.
Well, yeah,
I mean, you know.
yeah.
Maybe like amazement, I guess. You know,
Okay.
not, I mean, it is miracles, but you know, you're still amazed. Like they said, they were all night. We didn't get anything.
Yes.
You come along and here we go.
All right, so is it an appropriate lesson to say, trust in Jesus and he will give you more than you could ever imagine?
And it says that often, right?
Yeah, but how appropriate is it to say that? Look at how many fish he gave those disciples. Trust in Jesus and think about how much money you're going to get in the bank.
It's not about the money.
No. But I mean, do we
Go ahead.
always expect if it's just there? I mean, I don't do anything that I think is that. I better not say I don't do anything. I don't consciously think I'm doing this and I'm going to get rewarded for it.
Okay,
No.
okay.
There's a lot of-
Whatever good things that I know I do because of him,
Mhm.
I don't think I got a reward. It's just there. And
Sometimes the reward is not money.
Mhm.
well, absolutely.
You know, I
Sometimes
mean,
it's
look
just
at
waking
how
up
look at how
and
many
stay.
people out there that are rich beyond belief and have absolutely no faith whatsoever.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, they just care about the
And
almighty
not really
dollar.
people
That's
that
it.
care about
Yeah,
them
nothing
either.
else. Yeah. You know, and there's people that are truly 100% believable and everything else like that and have nothing.
Mhm.
So, you know,
My mother would tell me, your reward is not here.
Yeah.
It's not-
I asked the question the way I did because I hope you're aware, even if you don't pay attention, and I hope you don't pay attention to them, but I hope you're aware that there are quite a few preachers these days who it's all about the material stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, as if this were a normal Christian experience. You trust in Jesus, and he will give you all of this kind of material stuff. You know, I don't know how much Peter and Andrew would have been able to sell all these fish for at the fish market. But, you know, they probably would have been able to put food on the table for a while, maybe make a mortgage payment.
yeah, but even here in the last statement where it says, so they pulled up their boats, left everything and followed him. That was it. So all the fish are there? So it's,
That's what I
you know,
was, yeah.
so it's here. Everybody take what you want.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's not mine, it's
Yeah.
yours,
Those
do whatever you
material
want
things
with it.
were not
Yeah.
important.
So it's like, I don't
Other
care about
things.
that now.
Right.
Right.
You know, I have this, I'm doing this, that's it, too bad.
Right.
And they weren't following Jesus because of the reward.
Yeah.
Because of the
Right.
material
Right.
reward
Right.
they got.
And thank you for saying that. That's important to say because, like I said, there's so many preachers these days that say you will get material rewards if you trust in Jesus, but there is something to be said, even more important, for following Jesus and trusting Him without even being concerned about the material reward that you're
Right.
going to get.
What are you gonna
Well, the
get?
whole thing is just to believe,
You're right.
you know, everything else doesn't matter.
I feel believing is our
It's our
reward is our
reward.
daily blessings that He gives us every
Mhm.
day without, you know,
Mhm.
things that we just do and take for granted. That's all a blessing from God.
Mhm.
And that's the reward, or, you know, that's, I don't wanna say, call it a reward, but that's,
But it is. He
believe,
does
you know,
have
that's,
or be
you know, you
rewarded.
believe and you try to follow the best you can, and you get your daily blessings.
Yeah. Or is it basically the final reward is that you go to heaven?
Well, yeah, it's the final one, yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
It comes after that.
You might not get nothing all your life,
Mhm.
but at least you'll end up in heaven with Him, or, you know. I mean, it's, everybody's got their own thought process, but still, maybe that's all it is.
Mhm.
You know, everything else is irrelevant.
It all depends
Well, you
on
get to a
what
point where you know
consider
it's
your
irrelevant.
reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get there.
You know,
It's like,
I get up every morning, that's my reward,
doesn't matter.
you
Like
know?
you were talking last week, having these things.
It's hard to say.
Mhm.
Didn't matter.
I mean, I think that's something you could talk about for hours, you know?
Well, that's like we've said all along, we've got family members who have quite a bit of money, but they don't have happiness.
Right, they don't have a life.
We don't
Mhm.
don't have a lot of money, but we have an overabundance of happiness.
Right. And maybe that's the
And
true
food.
reward,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and we have each other and we can do what we want. We're up every
Mhm.
morning,
Mhm.
and I consider us richer than they are,
Mhm.
because it's not the monetary that
Right.
counts.
Nope, you can't take it with you. You know?
What if we put it the other way around, though? You know, because you're talking about in terms of rewards, you know, this and that, or even the reward for faith. And what if the blessings come before the faith? You know, not as a result of the faith, but what if they're there already before the faith? So the picture that's coming to mind is one of those wagons at the county fair that, you know, you have to shoot water balloons or something in order to get a prize, you know? And what if, and so the prize is always the reward. You have to do something to get the reward. And you can, you know, if you're a little kid, you can choose the reward. I want the teddy bear, I want the basketball or whatever, but you have to do something successfully to get the reward. Okay. What if we work it the other way around and say, you know, God gives you the prize before you actually do anything. He's like, you know, if he were the guy at the fair, a kid would walk up and he would say, oh, good, you're here, you can have a teddy bear, you can have a basketball, whatever you want, you take that, and then he gives it to you, and then he says, now, do you want to play the game? Sure, I want to play the game, even though I already have the reward. You know, because little kids love to shoot water balloons. Right. So is that more like the way God works with us? To say, I'm going to give you the reward first, and then just let you play to your heart's content. Knowing that you don't actually have to do anything to get the reward.
Well, that's basically like Jesus died for us, for our sins and stuff like that, and He gave us the grace, and that's it. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's right.
Everything else is irrelevant.
That's right.
I know a lot of people reject that, but in Matthew, doesn't it say that if you love me, you will obey my commandments? So that doesn't give you full license to play and do what you want. You still have to follow.
All right, I understand that part.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm just trying to get around, I'm just trying to get back us around to the beginning so that we don't, because I'm not, even if we say we have faith and that's our reward, we're still we're still kind of in the example of saying you do something to get something. And I'm saying, what if God has already given it to you and you just go along with the flow? Okay, you already have the reward. You already have
We
the.
do. He
Yeah.
said
Yeah,
that.
that's what
But
it
then
is.
you're,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
a child of
You're
God.
with the
You're chosen already.
Yeah.
So
Right.
there it is.
Right,
Well,
Doesn't
that's
mean
like
everything
Paul
you go
said,
along
that
with it
everything
goes so
doesn't
well.
matter,
right.
We are like children.
because basically the Jewish doctrine and everything else like that is gone,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And everybody still relies a lot on the Jewish doctrine and saying, we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to, no, you don't.
Mhm.
That's all gone.
Mhm. Helga's right, though. There are still some boundaries.
Well,
Even if the
yeah.
law is, there's still some boundaries. So if the carnival wagon that you're at is you're shooting water balloons with BB guns, and you've already got the prize, and the guy running the show says, now you can pretty much do whatever you want. There's still a boundary. You get to shoot the water balloons. You don't get to shoot each other with
Yeah.
BB guns.
Well, yeah, there's still
Okay.
boundaries, but what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that the Jewish law was for at that time, and then once Christ died for us, that was it. A lot of the law was gone,
Right. Right.
I mean, we still have the commandments, we still have the few things and stuff
Right.
like that, but other than that, a lot of people are still living in those laws.
Right.
And they say, we have to abide by them and everything else.
Right.
No, you don't, not anymore.
Right. Right. All right, let's go on to the last reflection question there. How has Jesus called you to be his disciple today, and what does that mean for your daily life? On the last couple, since you're thinking hard or blocked or something, on the last couple of pages, I've filled with a number of quotes from these two books that are sitting here. One of them is called The Spirituality of the Cross by Gene Booth, and the other one's called Luther on Vocation by Gustav Windgren. I just wanted to, I put this long quote at the beginning. I wanted to read this one to you because I think it's a terrific quote about what we talked about this morning already and we're talking about here. In both his spiritual and his earthly kingdoms, God is active and he works through means. In the spiritual realm, he works, as we've seen, through the word and the sacraments. In the earthly realm, he works through vocation. This is from the book on Spirituality of the Cross. In the Lord's Prayer, we ask that God gives us our daily bread, which he does. He does so not directly as with the manna to the Israelites, but through the work of farmers, bakers, food service workers, grocers, and many more. In fact, he gives us our daily bread through the functioning of the whole accompanying economic system. Employers and employees, banks and investors, the transportation infrastructure and technological means of production, each part of which is interdependent and necessary if we are going to eat. Each part of this economic food chain is a vocation through which God works to distribute his gifts. God heals the sick. While he can do so directly in a spectacular, unmediated miracle in the normal course of things, God heals through the work of doctors, nurses, and other medical vocations. God protects us from evil. This he does by means of the vocations of police officers, attorneys, judges, and the military. God teaches through teachers, orders society through governments, and creates beauty through artists. Luther pointed out that God could have decided to populate the earth by creating each individual and each generation separately from the dust. Instead, he invented families. Husband, wife, father, mother are vocations through which God extends his creation and exercises his love. So all these things and all the various activities that you and I will do throughout this week, in some way God is probably using them to extend his mercy and his love to everybody somehow, even if you can't see him doing it or can't see how he does that. What do you think about that?
For me, it's really apparent because of my music. You know, I feel like it's a ministry in a way. I have a lot of kids that are apostolic. I don't know, it's in that neighborhood. We're doing hymns and praise and worship songs. I show them just how to play a melody line on piano, and then teaching them how to put appropriate chords to those. It goes on. It's being passed forward, you know?
Yeah. I've said before here, and some of you know this, here over the years, we've had a number of kids that have come through here as our musicians. And one of the things, when those kids have come through here, I've said this place has been a place where they learn how to play in public, and some of them have gone on to provide music in worship in the churches that they've been in, wherever they've been. Sarah Hutchison, some of you remember her, she played piano for us years ago, and she's still playing piano in worship services in the church that she belongs to. You know, Matt has done the same thing. You know, so others as well. All these are vocations. You know, you have a vocation that's what you do outside of the home, that we sometimes call an occupation, whether it's a truck driver, whether it's a counselor, whether it's a musician, and then you have vocations in the home too, like father, mother, husband, wife, grandparent, whatever, as well as in the community, citizens. So when you go vote, that's following a godly vocation. As I was reading, I've been reading about this a lot this last week, and the ones that I'm not entirely sure about, how it's a godly vocation, are professional athletes. I'm not entirely sure about how that works, except that, I've at least come to acknowledge that professional athletes give the opportunity for all the support personnel to have vocations to put food on the table for their families. You know, whether it's the producers or the analysts or the statisticians or the hot dog guy, you know, at least because of professional athletics, they have opportunities to feed their families.
Yeah, but metaphorically, run the race, because it's a discipline.
Well, so they have their teachable moments, yes, but
You're finding the good. You're finding the good, the positive.
down toward the bottom of the page,
My boss used to
actually
call it
2
power.
paragraphs underneath it, it says,
Never see the
every
difference.
legitimate kind of work or social function is a distinct calling from God. Vocation does not just mean job. In fact, our vocations are multiple and they exist in these realms, what Luther called estates: family, workplace, citizenship, and the church. And then he says, this is the purpose of all vocations, to love and serve our neighbors. God does not tell us to love humanity in the abstract, but to love our neighbor, the actual, tangible, smelly, it's a human being whom he calls into our lives. You know? It's like Linus once said to Charlie Brown, I love humanity, it's people I can't stand. Yeah, but it's the people that we're called to love. And then this one is important. There are some occupations such as robber, drug dealer, hitman, or pornographer that are not vocations at all, since they are intrinsically sinful, being incompatible with the love of neighbor, aiming to hurt and corrupt rather than to serve. Okay, so that's an important thing to keep in mind. Gangster is not a vocation, guys.
That means I gotta change my profession now.
No,
Here's his permanent little boy.
Yeah, that's true.
There's, on the back, I wanted to mention this too. I don't think I mentioned this morning in the sermon. I know that was part of the plan. The 1 through third one down, another ploy of the devil is to pry the person out of his or her calling. There may be the temptation to quit, to get a divorce, to leave one's children, to quit one's job, to give up writing or making music or whatever talents and responsibilities that they have. Vocations do change, but we must not run away from our particular obligations. That's an important part of Luther's teaching on vocations, because in Luther's day, the word vocation was limited to the calling to the ministry. Okay? So if you became a priest, you had a vocation or a calling. If you could also have a calling to be a monk or a nun. Okay? But to be a carpenter wasn't considered a calling to the same degree. All of these priestly ones were the high degree. So you'd have this calling. And sometimes people do that these days too, you know. Sometimes somebody's to become a preacher. When did you get the call? You know, when I talk to other preachers, when did you get the call? And my answer is, I don't know. You know, it was just kind of there. But in Luther's day, what happened was that people were taking things like this Bible passage and this notion of vocation as a way to abandon their responsibilities they had to their families. And Luther hated that. In fact, he wrote against that in several places. There's all kinds of people in the priesthood and in the monasteries who, you know, like, well, one day, maybe they got tired of being surrounded by 8 bawling kids and a carpentry business that wasn't productive and a screaming wife and all this other stuff. And the guy finally had enough of it and said, fine, I'm going to go to become a monk. I'm leaving. I'm going to become a monk. I'm leaving all this. And besides, it's a higher calling, you know, and so God approves of me becoming a monk. God doesn't approve of me divorcing you, but he approves of me becoming a monk, so I'm going to go and become a monk. And their monasteries were full of guys that did that. And Luther just said, you know, that's just abandoning your responsibility. That's abusing the notion that God is calling you. That's using God as an accomplice for your delinquency. So we have to be careful about that. You know, yes, there are times when callings change or when Jesus comes with a different calling like he did with Peter and James and John, but to leave everything and follow Jesus is not the normal Christian experience. That's what he did for the apostles. That's what the apostles did. But the normal Christian experience is not to give everything up and follow Jesus like that. That's when it becomes like a cult. And we're not a cult. We follow Jesus in our homes, our families, our work, our relationships, not by leaving them, but by staying in them and following Jesus. That's the normal Christian experience. The other part of this, and I don't know, I didn't put a quote on here. I don't know if it's exactly quoted by Luther, so I'm not sure that he actually said this. But the other part of this is this: you don't have to hang a cross on the grill of your truck to let everybody know that you're a Christian truck driver. Okay? You just have to be a Christian truck driver, whatever that means. Maybe that means you're a little kinder than some other guys. Maybe you're a little gentler than some other guys. Maybe it means you got a little more patience than some other guys. Maybe it means that people actually notice that.
Well, we'll put a cross on the truck.
I'm not, no, don't put a cross in the truck instead of doing those things, you know. That might be false advertising.
I always told the boys to beware of people that wear a cross like a badge.
Yeah,
Because it's
Yeah.
not necessarily
right,
what they're representing.
yeah.
I
You know,
have-
George Michael used to wear a cross,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I kind of wondered what that was all about.
yeah. Well, so did Flora and a lot of the other ones too.
Yeah.
You wonder.
Yeah. Go ahead, Helga.
I'll be right back.
Mm.
I have a kid that made me one.
Oh,
It's in my
okay.
car.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it. He brought it to class to me today. I mean, one day and just said, "Here, this is for you."
How
And
about
then he
that?
almost threw it at me because he was kind of embarrassed.
Stick to the
How
forehead.
that goes. Here it is.
Goodness.
Yeah. All right, so comments or thoughts while Helga's getting that questions. We may come back to visit this idea of vocation at some time in the future. I've been thinking about this book on the spirituality of the cross is really good. Gene Veith is not a pastor. He's not a theology professor. He's actually a professor of literature. He's a layman who was not born Lutheran, but he loves the Lutheran Church. He grew up, and he's very involved. He's been on our campus teaching at Concordia Mequon. And this book is all about... I've been thinking of kind of doing a survey of that book, Spirituality of the Cross, and call it, This Is Us Lutherans. Because it really is about, you know, what it is to be Lutheran, what the Lutheran people are like. And it's not just about sauerkraut and kielbasa suppers. Okay, any other thoughts, questions, comments, ideas, related or unrelated to this? Okay, here's Helga's cross. Oh, your student made this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
We have an
Wow.
art class that.
In art class.
It's a jewelry making class, and I don't know, this kid,
Cool.
It's pretty.
yeah, how about that, right? You know, you can pass it
I'll let
around.
you pass it around.
You must touch him in a certain way that he,
Yeah.
that's,
Wow.
feel honored for that.
Mhm.
Yeah, real shy, real awkward kid, and I just listened to him, just, you know, he used to wanna talk to somebody, and you know, and I would just
No, that's why.
listen to
Yeah.
him.
That's
Yeah.
why, because
Yeah.
nobody listens.
Uh-huh.
Nobody
Uh-huh.
talks either,
Yeah.
except in anger.
Yeah,
No
he was just an
frustration,
awkward
something.
kid, and then, found out later on, like a
Huh.
month or two after that, found out he had diabetes, you know,
Mhm.
so that was just a,
Thank you.
yeah, public school, huh? You know, not even
Wow.
parochial.
Yeah, it's,
That's cool.
yeah.
Very nice.
Nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Sometimes I think people take advantage of people when they show their, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You talk about somebody putting that on their truck. This is when I first started trucking. I was in Philadelphia, and I got in there late and went to bed. We all lined up to go into the port. Woke up and a bunch of stuff going on, and police tape up and stuff. And there was I still remember the truck, a black cab over Freightliner with a cross paint on it. Guys, they went in and killed the guy, robbed him. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah,
So I guess
it was an easy
always,
target, yeah.
yeah, you know, that's, so when I see people that don't say something, I understand it, because it's, you know, I'm just an ass, you know, I'll push back, but
Mm-hmm.
I just, I think about that a lot. I really do.
Sometimes in the situation, it's just self-preservation.
Mhm.
When you're up against those who don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, the flip side of that is to say, you know, as a Christian truck driver, there are probably things that you know that a lot of other truck drivers are doing that you're just like, man, that's just not right,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? So, do you go ahead and do them because a lot of other guys are doing it and getting away with it, or do you say, you know, it's not right, so I'm not doing it?
No, no. I think when you're, well, and I'm gonna go back to being a kid, you do stuff to fit in. And I
Yeah,
think sometimes that goes on in
Yeah.
anybody's life.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Just,
In any
Sure.
vocation.
yeah, anything. So, but yeah, you're right. No.
yeah,
But like I said, I just kind of see it just when it come up to when she said about this child. That's what I thought of, you
Mhm.
know, and that's why he threw it at you because he was embarrassed that other kids would probably start picking on him and stuff.
Yeah, but they didn't.
Well, and that's good.
You know, it is good.
Yeah.
I saw him just a couple of months ago, and he's working as a greeter at Walmart.
Okay.
There's my job.
But he's flourishing. He's flourishing. He has come out of his shell, and he's doing really
That's
well.
good.
He's
I mean, that's probably
good.
why he just kind of sort of threw it at you too, because
Yeah.
he just doesn't know how to relate to
Yeah.
others,
Right.
really.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm warning everybody when I get my job at Walmart, don't ask me where it's at. Because you're
That's what
gonna
they
want the
teach you.
response.
Yeah.
They teach you to know where everything is.
Hi, welcome to Walmart. You're on your own.
Just don't use that as a reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna go to Walmart today, but I saw Dennis was working, so I just went to Target instead.
The official greeter. Yeah, I could see me doing that. Where did you get them pants? Your parents let you out of the house like
Yeah.
that?
Or could you put pants
Yeah.
on instead of your pajama bottoms?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Go up
Or-
your pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you're 60 years old. You still can't dress yourself? Come on. Where's all the carts? You passed 50 of them on the way in. Why didn't you bring one?
I know I must be getting old because I saw a couple of gals in the grocery store the other day, and my first thought was, would you just roll out of bed?
Yeah, really.
Oh, man, that bothers me a lot.
Oh, it does.
Man, does that bother me.
Can tell I'm getting old.
My big thing is when they wear their slippers.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Because
yeah.
you know they go home and they wear those slippers in their house and probably lay in their
Yep.
couch with them or crawling
Yeah.
in bed.
It's
And
like-
it's like, ew, ew.
Laziness is just
Yeah.
getting, you know.
It's not a fashion statement to wear your bunny slippers to
Really?
Walmart.
Yes.
Well,
I can't
People
stand
don't
ones who
care.
shuffle their feet and flop their shoes around,
Yeah.
slap them around.
At least they
all right,
got
now we're
shoes
all
on.
talking about
Okay,
getting
yeah.
old.
Okay.
Yes. No, these are still young people.
yeah.
And older
And
ones.
older people.
It was just
No, I'm
well,
talking about us getting old. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I saw a thing the other day that said, you know, you're getting old when you realize your kids are middle aged. I was like, yeah, Katie just got her first pair of bifocals. I'm like,
Ouch.
now we know we're getting old.
Yeah.
My daughter's getting bifocals.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah. We all face it, but still.
Yeah, no, and that's not a thing of us getting old. It's just a thing of this new generation has no self-respect. It's they
Yes.
just
Yeah, but
don't
the thing
care.
is, it's not just a new generation. You see a lot of older people doing this now.
Well, that's a personality. That's
Yeah, I
fine.
mean, it's just
Yeah.
personality.
Blame it on that, right? Pants that I could have sworn I put them on this morning. Where are they?
Did you change your diaper before you left?
No, that's not what you
Yeah.
I walked out the door with my slippers on the other day, didn't I?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
turned around and came back and said, I guess I should put my shoes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
All right, enough is enough.
We've lost control.
We've lost everything. So, anyway, happy Father's Day to the dads. Happy Father's Day to the moms and everybody. You know, just enjoy Father's Day. Enjoy this day. It's going to turn out to be nice, maybe anyway.
Yes.
But God has given us this day, whatever it brings. So
Yep.
take care. And let's close with prayer. Lord Jesus, we thank you that you not only called the disciples to follow you, but that you call us every single day to follow you in all parts of our lives. So help us to do that. Help us to know that you are watching over us, you're calling us, you're guiding us, and you're giving us the skills and the abilities and the knowledge to do what you've called us to do. Thank you for that love for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you very much.